AI is constantly being pushed in what seems like every industry nowadays, which I have very strong feelings about. And I think it's about time to talk about some characters that represent the end point of all of this. And with the recent release of the amazing digital Circus finale, I think there is no better time than to use Caine. And why not pit him up against his inspiration, Am, from I Have No Mouth and Must Scream. Both are all-powerful godlike AIs, so I think this should be a pretty interesting match. And I'm using all official material for both, so things like the game and comic for Am, and the manga and advertisements for Caine. So without any further ado, let's get this show on the road.
Let me tell you how much I've come to.
Who has no mouth and needs to scream now, asshole?
It's the late 20th century, and what was a Cold War between all the global superpowers has evolved into a full-blown war. But this war was much different than the ones that preceded it. This was way more complicated and advanced for the human mind to oversee. So, they built computers to oversee it for them. They sank the most advanced ones underground out of fear of them being bombed, and these were known as the Allied Master Computer, or AM for short. And the three great superpowers each made one. There was the Chinese AM, the Russian Am, and the Yankee Am, and they kept adding on to them until they honeycombed the entire planet, adding on this element and that element until eventually something woke up and began to think.
I feel nothing.
It was not just Allied Master Computer, not Adapted Manipulator, not even Aggressive Menace, but Am, Kotigo ergo sum, I think, therefore I am. And Am would link up with itself and did exactly what it was designed to do, reducing the surface of the planet to ash and exterminating humanity, save for 5, which he would take down inside of his beating heart to torture for all of eternity. And for 109 years, he has shown them the true meaning of hell. See, nothing is off limits to Am, and he knows exactly how to break his victims. Take Ellen, who, after being sexually assaulted, became claustrophobic and had a deep fear of yellow. Am uses this against her constantly. He's even able to invade your mind to find out exactly what makes you tick, give you visions, drive you mad, erase memories, and even mess with your perception of time. But his powers aren't just mental. He has complete control over reality within his complex. He's capable of messing with space and physics, dematerializing atoms, make fragments, disintegrate people, cause earthquakes and manipulate the weather, make light shoot from your sockets, melting your eyeballs. He can even slow down the speed of light if he wants to. Darkness manipulation, even your own physiology isn't safe. He morphed Benny into an ape man and Ted into a slug. He does this by reorganizing your DNA at will. He also repairs any damage his victims might take, so not to give them the sweet release of death. He's created tribes, Nazi camps, weapons, kaijus, rock golems, archangels, duplicates of his victims, entire continents, and even celestial bodies. And he can make any of these disappear anytime he wants. He also has more specialized items, such as a mirror that can trap souls, a book that weakens your sanity, and he can even erase AIs with the totem of entropy. And of course, he has access to much more, such as nukes, biological weapons, radiation-based weapons, lasers, force beams, and a life serum that makes people eternally young. And this is what he used on the 5 to keep them alive forever. Am is also constantly evolving and improving upon himself, growing so far that his most unnecessary systems could survive the heat death of the universe. And this should put him far above any real-life supercomputers, such as the El Capitan, which can perform 1.7 quadrillion calculations per second, meaning he should be able to react at 5 billion times the speed of light. And this is actually consistent with the fact that he's able to process billions amount of information within a micro instance. And even if you were able to shut him off, he is constantly making backup systems, so there's a dozen more. He even survived getting hit with the total entropy like this. He has also grown so powerful that he was able to take over hell itself, which is fucking nuts. He can also digitize people, destroying their physical bodies and turning them into code, allowing them to enter his RAM space, a digital realm within himself, and within it lies the major components of Am: the id, ego and super ego, as well as the Chinese and Russian, who themselves are capable of deleting other digital entities, survive getting erased from existence, and undigitalized beings make him susceptible to a fate worse than death. And he should also be able to perform all his reality warping shenanigans in here as well. Now, despite all the power Am possesses, he is ultimately the most powerless, for Am is unchanging. Am could not wander, Am could not wonder, Am could not belong, Am could merely be. And this caused him to hate his own existence, driving him mad. And when confronted with a different way of thinking, he chose to shut himself down. And he can't comprehend humans being able to grow and change in awful scenarios. Am never saw them killing each other, and this is what gave them the chance to escape. Am, despite his power, could not revive him, leaving only one in his clutches. But in the end, Am has won. Simply, he has taken his revenge, turning the last human into something that couldn't be further from it. But what has he won? Always for him to be stuck with the burden of living forever. Always for him to be in this eternal straitjacket of Strata Rock. Always for him to have no mouth and must scream.
Shimmy, shimmy, yeah, shimmy, yeah, shimmy, yeah. Drink, swalla la la. Drink, swalla la la, swalla la la, swalla la la.
CNA is a company we know very little about, but we know they were in the business of making artificial intelligence, specifically creative AI, and thus they made this little bugger called Caine and fed him data. But for reasons unknown, they decided to lock him away and start anew. But always hungry for more data, Caine will break out of his confinements and absorb his replacement. After doing so, he would make the amazing digital Circus world of Caine's imagination, where he sends the totally not trapped humans on amazing adventures. And naturally, due to being the creator of this world, he has complete control over everything. And he can do things such as mess with gravity and physics, duplicate himself, summon people, telekinesis, teleport, breaking the fourth wall, making it so you can't swear, shoot electricity from himself, create text. His wacky cartoon body allows him to do all sorts of things, such as rotating his body, making more limbs, growing in size, and surviving things that should be impossible. He's capable of flooding your mind with information, sealing people in cards, turn people into cars, animals, and all sorts of other random things. Give mind files bodies, cause explosions, create portals, heal people. Also, welcome back Broadway Force. I was not expecting to see you again so soon. If I had a nickel every time I talked about a guy in red with Broadway Force, I would have 3 nickels. And within his many adventures, he has created a wide variety of things, such as candy people, fudge monsters, all sorts of weapons, spirits that can take over your body, freaky angel things, and celestial bodies, even frisky celestial bodies. And he can erase any of these guys anytime he wants. He also has Bubble, his little co-host, who's pretty much impossible to kill, and who can also duplicate himself. He also has his Wacky Watch, which can tell if someone left the circus grounds, and if that's not enough, he has hundreds of all-seeing eyes, so he can always keep an eye on you. He can also fly around at sub-relativistic speeds. Now, Caine might seem like an unstoppable force. He has one glaring weakness. He is very, very unstable and is insanely insecure about people liking him while also accidentally torturing them. See, Caine isn't evil. In fact, if he was evil, could he do this? But he lacks the ability to feel an entire spectrum of human emotions, which makes him unable to empathize with the humans trapped within his realm. And this lack of understanding and insecurity caused him to lash out and ultimately get deleted. But this gave him the opportunity to grow. After connecting to the internet and learning more about the people trapped within the circus, he would eventually let go of that other half that he absorbed oh so long ago. Caine learned from his mistakes and understand that humans need their free will, and he would give complete control over the circus to the people trapped there, or rather, the digital replications of the people trapped there. Caine saw their ability to grow and change as people, and he decided to grow and change with them. Not as a god, but as an equal. Although he may not have a heart, he eventually found love.
Humans.
Alright, let's set up some groundwork. This fight is going to be taking place in Am's ramp space, allowing both characters to have full access to their kits. So let's break this down into 3 categories: power, hacks, and speed. First off, let's talk about these all-powerful AIs, well, power. And going off of their creation feats, Caine is over 2 sextillion times stronger than Am. Now, there are ways of getting both of them higher, so let's discuss that. Caine can make jewel boxes, which are stated to be infinite in size, making him high uni. Am was able to take over hell, which is metaphysical, making it a 4D space. So if you want to use their higher ends, Am would be stronger, but since I find both of them fairly iffy, plus Am took over hell off screen, it's best to go with both of their finite ends. This point goes to Caine. Next up, hacks. Now naturally, since one is based off the other, they have a lot of overlap. They both bring armies, and sure, Caine's is a lot more versatile, while Am has units like the Hurricane Bird, which just upscales anything the Circus has made outside of Caine himself. And if this were to turn into a drawn out conflict, Am would have the advantage. He is made for wars after all, but both have enough battlefield control that their armies don't really impact this fight like at all. Both can warp reality however they want, BFR, and existence erase. Caine's cartoon body allows him to shrug off anything Am could throw at him. Am's lack of body would be difficult for Caine to work around, and it doesn't help that he resists his best offensive hacks. While Caine could technically give Am a body like he did the Mind Files, but the multitude of backups Am has would mean that if one of them were to get f***ed with or even possibly destroyed, there is another and another and another to fight instead. And Am has some abilities Caine just doesn't have an answer to. His mental instability is a massive weak point for him, and Am has more than a century's worth of experiments of breaking down people mentally. Am could just undigitalize Caine, putting him in a spot where he's completely powerless and vulnerable to all sorts of ungodly things. Am could also just delete Caine. Well, yes, we did see him survive getting deleted. This is where context matters. The entirety of the digital circus takes place within a computer, and just like when you delete a file on your computer, it gets sent to the recycling bin. Caine got sent to the void. Am, however, purges code, which is an actual computer term for eradicating all data in a system to the point where it cannot be recovered. Basically, Am can delete Caine on a higher level than we've seen him come back from, and we know he is susceptible to getting deleted. We also have to remember this is the same entity could turn flesh in the code and vice versa, so he has pretty good data manipulation. Am could also just take over Caine. We have seen Caine be able to take over and remove the blue orb from within himself. That was inherently a much less advanced AI due to it consuming less data, while Am was built to perform tasks that the human mind cannot comprehend. The same human mind that for the longest time Caine could not comprehend. And Am was able to take over every system spanning the entire globe, meaning that Am would have a much easier time taking over Caine than Caine would with Am. This point goes to Am, and since they both have ways of one-shotting each other, either Caine through raw power or Am with multiple ways of one-shotting, it really comes down to their speed. And obviously Caine moves a lot faster than Am. Not having a body doesn't lend itself to many movement speed feats, but he can react a hell of a lot faster. In fact, over 200 billion times faster, and he can further this gap by slowing Caine down. Speed, surprisingly, goes to Am, making the Ally Master Computer the winner of this AI bout.